Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of Hip Hop Babies.
Yes,
Boo,
sirski.
boo, 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 boo. Y'all know what it is, man. We back with another episode. This album review. Today we got Boldy James,
Mm-hmm.
Permanent Ink.
Mm-hmm.
So your host Dead Lee. I got my boy Ray with me, as always. Let's get into his music, man. Boldy James, Detroit rapper, Hip Hop Baby's favorite, returning artist. This is probably like the fourth or fifth review that we done for him at this point, honestly. But I feel like we still at the start,
Mm-hmm.
like we just getting the car warmed up. This album, in my opinion, this is one of the first albums in a long, long while that Boldy's been putting out without somebody else's name attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like a producer usually he'll do like a tape with the producer. They'll do all the production on the project, and it'll be like a little collab album. I remember way back in 2020 when Alchemist put us on to Boldy. That was so nice of him. This is the first time that he's really just standing on his own 2 feet. This is him, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like this is a really monumental project, and he did this for a reason.
Someone did all these beats though. It was one person.
Roger Goodman.
Yeah, he does all the beats, but yeah, this is the first time in a while Bodie has just listed himself as the main artist on the album. It's not like a total collab project fully where it's a known producer and they're doing stuff together. It's his second album this year. He dropped something with Rich Gaines literally like a few weeks ago, and then he dropped this. And I was excited for this one because I really like the single file line. I really like the
Mm,
catchiness of that single. I love the beat. I
mm,
love that he was rapping about the ladies on that one. It was smooth, and that's what we
mm.
got on this. A lot of smooth player, kind of like trappy tracks. Boldy just talking about how he's moving still. You know what I'm saying?
Talking about single file line, bend down, see them golden arches, and let me see you smile. Talking about the little Happy Meal. He got the bars. You know what you get with Boldy, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Some real, real gritty, Detroit raps. But the production on this one, bro, it was special. I felt like on this one he like in his own way of getting like something that appeals more to the masses. I feel like Boldy is a really like chill rapper, like you said. It's just like chill vibes,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not what everybody's drawn to. But I feel like the samples and like the singing, a lot of the same reasons why we like somebody like Mike, right? Like Mike has like these beautiful samples on his stuff, and it acts as like the singing and the chorus and all that. And then you just got somebody who's just spitting. He's
Mm-hmm.
just he's just straight spitting, and it complements it really well. He's got that same kind of dichotomy, especially on this project with like all the really soulful samples and the way that they use them. He is still doing his own choruses and his own refrains and stuff, but then what you really be noticing that be sticking with you, I feel like in these songs is the samples themselves. I love the way you are, like that shit just be like in my head. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
holy shit, get out, bro, get out, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Um,
a crazy beat.
this is him, bro. Like I feel like he always talks about like who he is and like how he's like that dude, but like I feel like this one really is just an emphasis of like he really is that dude. He really does this shit. He really is penning himself in permanent ink. He is here to stay, basically. I felt like that's kind of what this album was really going for. I feel like he was trying to make a statement with this project, and I feel like it definitely resonated with me. He can be kind of boxed in and seen as a certain type of artist, which is really weird because he has really, really different albums throughout his whole discography. He was trying to make something for the masses. I feel like. I feel
Mm.
like this is one that's like kind of like gonna be like a crossover type project. He did something different on this one. It's just another step.
I think you could play Boldy around people in general, but this project has that more contemporary sound to it. And I just think he also like tapped back into home base, like on Stop Signs and Yields. Like that was a Detroit ass beat.
Mm.
James Bond featuring Jay Amani. That was a highlight for me, and that had like an old school movie sounding beat. I mean, it's called James Bond, so it kind of makes sense. A lot of these songs are like more loose, a little bit more him just rapping about having fun or doing shit with his homies, or making songs for the ladies. And I do think that Boldy can do that. Still Boldy, but like is easy on the
Hmm.
ears to maybe get new fans or to spice it up, because he does drop a lot of projects, and a lot of times he's working with a legendary producer or a producer that people know. I think this album was him starting out the year right after he worked with Rich Gaines, and I thought that album had a little bit of different production on it. And I think this one he was tapping back into the roots, basically like I'm just going back and I'm rapping some dope shit over some smooth beats. Everything sounded mastered. Everything sounded proper. It didn't sound gritty. Last year, Across the Tracks was my favorite album of the year. And I think him and Conductor did a great job. But I will say that album was really, it's Conductor. I mean, it's super hip hop. I'm gonna give you a sample. You just gotta rap over it and rap your ass off. While this, he was rapping and he was still flowing and shit, but it wasn't as intense, I think, as something like that. Now that
Yeah,
doesn't take away from it though.
I think like mostly what I've been trying to get at this entire time is
Mm-hmm.
that he does albums with producers, and the producers are on the forefront of the project. Their personality and their influence, you can definitely tell it's like something like they making some beats that they think he gonna like, and they think he can rap on, and they just give him anything, and it just kind of feels like he just is proving to us that he can rap on anything, he can flow on anything. We know what he's capable of at this point, but like that's him like experimenting and like branching out and like doing different things. This album, it feels like he was at this point probably at one point in his career, like a producer tour. Now we're back to focus on just Boldy. You could very clearly tell from like the cover art, firstly, it's him just there by himself, silhouette. Not very many features, just a couple. It very much so felt centered around him. And I felt like we're getting to the point where people know Boldy for Boldy. It's not all these people that he's working with. And he's one of the best rappers in the game, man. It's just he was doing projects where he really wanted to say something in specific,
Mm-hmm.
or have like a theme. Like he could really do it. He could really go into it. But I think he's just going on like a popularity tour at this point, like dropping all this music, like working with all these different people. Like it really just seems like he's trying to get his numbers up and trying to get, more people to listen to his music. I don't feel like he's really doing stuff like when he was dropped Manger on McNichols, you know.
Yeah, that's
Manger on
good. Yeah.
McNichols was a super personal project, and I felt like he's only gotten that deep so many times. Like he drops a lot of music. We're getting close to another type of moment where we can get something deeper from him. But right now, I feel like he's still trying to introduce himself, which is crazy to say, because he's like, you should know who he is, and he's on top of the game, in my opinion. Not everybody's us, not everybody's tapped in like that. Not everybody's, listening for Detroit like that. So it's not the moment to be doing, some deep shit, but it's the moment to be doing something that a lot of people can listen to, and a lot of people can be like, damn, like he really does it like this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let me check out what else he's talking about. And
Yeah.
then next week we get another album. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. He's been dropping like crazy. I do like this project more than the one he dropped earlier this year. I just think it sounded more clean, and I do think that
Mm.
Boldy, if he is trying to connect to more people, that is important. Sometimes with Boldy, he does come off pretty gritty. He does come off pretty grimy, and I do think that throws people off. There wasn't as much as that on here, but he still was keeping it to the street, or keeping it to what he usually does. I think Ghetto is an example of that. No one's harder than him. He's making moves. He's trying to do stuff based on his passive hustling. Chili Mo, I thought that was a highlight for me. I love that beat. Again, for someone I'm not familiar with, Roger Goodman did a great job on most of the production on here. I'm not familiar with him. I might have to do more research. I don't know if he's like worked with a bunch of people, but this was a great introduction because even if some of the songs weren't like my favorite per se, I did like the beat or what Boldy was going for. Now, I will say this. I'm not the one to tell Boldy to slow down, but I will say that Boldy, you are a top tier artist in my eyes. And I do think that, like I said, your album was my favorite last year. Penalty of Leadership was amazing. And you are making another project with Nicholas Craven. So I do think that I am ready for something a little bit more in the lane you usually go for. I am starting to see people online be like, oh, you drop too much. And I don't think you're dropping too much. I just think that, you got to stay at a certain quality. And I do think this is at a cool quality. My thing is I want you to continue to drop like top tier projects. I'm not saying that this is a bad project. With me, I'm playing it. I like it. But there is that little bit missing for me.
That's fair, right? But like rap is not the same as content creation. But in a way, right? Like every time you drop, you get some subscribers, you get some listeners, you get some likes, and then you grow each time you're doing it. The growth is what matters the most. I know that quality is what we expect and what we want, but it doesn't always work out in that way for artists. I just feel like, some artists, they don't get the same love, the same platforming, and they got to do what they got to do. It was started by Griselda, right? The torch got passed on to Boldy with how much that they were dropping these projects. I mean, just like it's a ridiculous amount of projects being dropped. Does it work or does it not work? In my opinion, I say it worked.
If you don't check for Boldy's for a few months, you probably got like 2, 3 projects to check out. That's saying something because they're at least quality. Even this one, I just wanted to, vocalize that, I think Boldy is a top tier rapper. And I don't want people to start to say, well, you're oversaturating the market, because I start to see that on Twitter. And I know people just talk. As a fan, at this point, I am a fan of Boldy James. And I do think that he is someone that I don't want people to be like, well, he just drops a bunch of projects. You feel me? Like I said, last year he dropped dope projects. And this year he's dropping, right now, he's dropped 2 projects. I enjoyed both of them. I enjoyed this one a little more than the first one. I'm excited to see what he does next. When Boldy's dropping, I'm excited. It's not like, oh man, he's dropping the 3rd or 4th album this year. Like, I'm never like that. I'm more like, man, I'm excited to hear what he's gonna do with this one. And even with this one, I might not have enjoyed it as much as I expected to. I do think it's a good project, and I do think you should check it out, especially if you just want to hear some bangers or just some track to play and just like be like, oh, this is a cool track. I can add this to the playlist. Or this is a cool track. I like what he talk about. Hey man, Boldy, keep jumping projects though. I'm not gonna tell you to slow down because every year pretty much you've been in my list. So who am I to tell you to slow down?
Do I think it's a good little intro type album? Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
so. I would say if you picking it up now, it's not too late. Just to keep it in mind, if you like something that's like a little bit more low key, something that's going, just play in the background or, play while you cruising. That's the type of vibe I'd personally listen to this for. What is your top 3 tracks?
My first track, Chili Mo. That was a highlight. I like the beat on that one a lot. Single File Line is my second one. The Single, banger. And James Bond. I really like that track. So that's my 3. What
Okay.
about you?
All
What
right.
about you, man? What's your 3?
I probably got single file line on there too. That's an easy one. I really like No Facade
Mm-hmm.
with Sir Michael Rocks, and then I think Sammy, or
Ooh,
SAMY, whatever it
that's a good
is. That
one.
was
Yeah, yeah.
that was a heater on this project. I know I was saying he wasn't like experimenting or anything, but like on this project, he did have a lot of not flows that I haven't heard before necessarily. He was definitely doing some like unique flows from track to track, from
Yes.
track to track. He kept it fresh the entire way, all the way through until I get to the last song, where I'm still feeling like he's doing something different enough to catch my attention. So,
And this was only like what 30 something minutes, so it wasn't too long.
oh
It's not like
yeah.
it's not like he's flooding the streets with like long ass projects. Like he keeps it short, he keeps it concise. He doesn't wear out his welcome. So even though I'm saying like, hey, watch, make sure the quality is up to a certain standard. it's not like he's flooding the streets with like long bloated projects. Like this is still concise. It's still Boldy knows how to make an album. I want more across the tracks. I want more penalty. I want what that's what I listen to Boldy for. So, but
Shots ring
I did
out.
enjoy this. People
People shout.
shout, yeah, bro. Hey, we catching bodies like a flying trapeze act, bro. Keep them coming, man. Concreature.
Concreatures. I'm not affiliated with Concreatures whatsoever. Just a fan.
Where we
Just a
at with it?
fan, man. That being said, thank y'all so much for watching this episode of Hip Hop Babies. You know, this little album review, little y'all meaner. Appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all like, y'all comment, subscribe. The channel is growing. Y'all are doing that. We appreciate that. Love y'all for that. Keep on doing that. Keep sharing that. Make sure you check out some Boldy James. If you ain't checked out no Boldy James at this point, after you've been watching all these videos of ours, you're a lost cause.
What are
You're a
you
lost
doing?
cause. I'm about to disrespect you, bro. All right. Enough of that. Thank you, Ray, for another great episode, and I'm gonna hand it off to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, Deadly. As usual, hold it down. Shout out to Boldy.
Yeah.
Shout out to Roger Goodman on the beats. Royal House. You impressed me with some of the beats on here. Boldy, as usual, you impressed me with what you brought to the table, what you were talking about. And I'm excited for the next one. And whatever else you drop this year, give me 5, give me 4. I know I'm half telling you to slow down, but really, when you do give me multiple projects that are really impactful, I love it every time. So do what you do best, man. To the listeners, thank you for listening. With that being said, peace.
Peace.